Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Shark Ava, whose new tagline is "You get what you pay for and Reddit is free." No need for me to censor it anymore, let's go! The original OP is The Unseen One, originally posted the 17th of March, 2026. My mother-in-law wants us to file for bankruptcy for her debt. Buckle up because this story is 20 plus years in the making. My husband, 29 male, and I, 27 female, are recently married, but we're college sweethearts and have been together for 8 plus years. For context, I grew up in a big family that wasn't always well off, but worked its way to upper middle class, and my parents are both still married. My husband came from a poorer background where his parents were divorced and his mom raised him. He really only saw his father for 1 to 2 holidays or when they were both visiting the paternal side's family cabin at the same time. He lived with his mom, her boyfriends, and one of his half-sisters. My husband, boyfriend at the time, was upfront that he intended on dating with the plan of marriage. As such, he was honest about his home life and finances. One day, a year into the relationship, he let it slip that his mother had taken 4 credit cards out in his name while he was still a child. Not sure how or when he found out, but his mom told him that she was paying them off. Naturally, I expressed how this was not okay and that he needed to get those accounts/cards in his control. He was hesitant to do so, believing that his mom was indeed paying them off. In hindsight, he was probably more hesitant because he still lived with his mother. He also didn't want to file for fraud because he didn't want his mom to go to jail. Understanding that his mom was a single mom of 2 kids and would have had many financial struggles while raising them, I gave his mom the benefit of the doubt, but still nudged hubby to monitor his mother's progress on paying them off every so often. The year after that, my hubby, boyfriend at the time, told me he had to file for bankruptcy because of something unrelated to the credit cards that his mother did. From my understanding, when he was a toddler, his mother claimed him as being severely autistic and filed to receive disability payments from the state. They had been receiving these payments up until he was 23 or 24 years old. When I first met hubby/boyfriend, he told me he was autistic and truly believed he was. I have a medical background that includes experience working one-on-one with adults with autism/Asperger's. I can say with 95% certainty that this man is not autistic, but he definitely has ADD, which can be mistaken for autism sometimes. Apparently, the state was reevaluating his case when he hit his early 20s and notified him and his mother that they were. While reevaluating his case, the state was still sending them disability checks. Instead of not cashing the checks like you're supposed to in this case, his mother continued to cash the checks. A year later, the state determined that he should have never been receiving checks for disability and sent an invoice requesting payment of over $20,000. The debt was in hubby's/boyfriend's name because the checks were for his disability. My mother has a background in law/finance, and I suggested they ask my mother for advice on this. Instead, he allowed his mom to help him file for bankruptcy and was under the impression that the debt was gone. Fast forward to 2025, when we are wedding planning and living in our own place. At this point, I suggested that my husband finally get control of those cards/accounts since we will be sharing finances and need to monitor those accounts. He agreed, but wanted to wait until after the wedding because his mom was already causing problems with just us trying to plan the wedding, picking random fights and being hostile to people we employed to help plan the wedding. It was getting to a point we were considering disinviting her from the wedding with how ridiculous her behavior was. I was fine with waiting until after the wedding. We also met with the finance people of my family to plan how we will join our finances. My brother was/is our financial planner. He looked over our financials and suggested we meet with a colleague of his to discuss consolidating our debt. We met with this colleague who pulled up our credit reports, and we were shocked to see the scores/reports. We knew mine wasn't going to be great, but hubby's credit score was normally in the 700s despite his mother's past antics. And it was now 590. The colleague shares his screen so we can see what the issue with our credit is, and I can feel hubby tense up when he sees his report shows the $20,000 plus in debt. Hubby texted his mother about the debt. We learned that the state had still been sending letters stating this debt still needed to be paid, but they were being sent to his mother, who never shared them with us. She then told us not to worry and that declaring bankruptcy will wipe the debt clean. This is where we realized that hubby hadn't declared bankruptcy all those years ago, and that his mother just kept quiet about this still being a problem for almost 4 years. I was livid at this point and called my mother. My mother used to assist clients filing for bankruptcy. While hubby's mom is texting nonstop trying to convince us to file for bankruptcy, my mom is explaining that doing that would make any big financial moves, buying a house, car, etc., impossible for the next 10 years. There are fees costing thousands of dollars to just file for bankruptcy, and that it requires multiple court appearances. My mom was urging us not to do this. I wanted to find mother-in-law and rip her hair plugs out of her scalp. Here we are, trying to start a new life and hoping to start a family in the next 2 years, and his mother, who has already lived a life built on my husband's credit, has the nerve to tell us to give up our plans for the future so that the debt she caused by the disability checks in the 4 credit cards can get washed away. Not if I had anything to say about it. My husband has withdrawn after all this. It was really starting to sink in how financially abusive his mother was. Her behavior before, during, and after the wedding also didn't help. It seemed like every bridge hubby tried extending to her, she was burning. He also reminisced on how his half-sister got more preferential treatment, having no fraudulent debt in her name and being allowed to do gymnastics. When hubby asked to join, he was only ever given a summer pass to the local pool. My mom was amazing and found the paperwork needed to file an appeal with the state on the $20,000 debt. My mom helped him fill out and file the papers. It can take months to years before the state even reveals the appeal and gives their verdict. We're still waiting to hear back, but my mom's confident that the appeal will go through. A few months after the wedding, my husband sat down with mother-in-law and told her we were now sharing finances and hoping to plan for a future where we could afford to start a family. We needed to monitor our credit and finances more closely. He asked for the cards and the accounts and said she'd be paying him directly. She blew up. My husband did not tell me exactly what she said, but learned that she had been running credit checks on us when she told hubby to focus on getting me to stop opening cards. Our dog had to be rushed to the vet a week before this conversation because he was vomiting blood and fainting. He had an extensive workup done, and we're worried about the cost. His mother knew that our dog was very sick and needed tons of medications. We had opened a care card online while waiting in the exam room to be able to pay for the vet bill. Don't worry, he's fine now, just a horrible case of gastritis. In addition to that revelation, his mother said some awful shit to my husband about his flaws. He didn't tell me what she said, just said that she reminded him that he's worth nothing. From what my husband said, she was then yelling horrible things about me. He refuses to tell me what it was. And he blew up at her and quit his job at her restaurant. Before leaving, he told her that if he did not receive those cards/accounts in a month, he would be reporting fraud. I had no idea he planned on having this conversation that night and only found out when he texted me about it while I was at work. They went over 2 weeks not speaking to each other, which was the longest I've seen. Although his mom is a piece of work, they were still pretty close. So this entire event surprised me. My husband was applying for new jobs but was worried I'd take a while to find something. We took a page from his mom's playbook and he applied for unemployment to get some of the income supplemented in the meantime. After 2 weeks, his mom called him crying and wanting to make amends. They spoke, but no cards or accounts were handed over. Not long after that, mother-in-law sent my husband angry texts saying how dare he file for unemployment and that she had to pay $300 because of it. My husband just rolled his eyes and ignored her. She wouldn't have to pay anymore to unemployment though because my husband was able to get a job after 3 weeks of searching. The hours aren't great, but the pay and benefits are good. Unfortunately, it has been well over a month, and mother-in-law still hasn't handed over the cards/accounts. I think she still sees her son as the non-confrontational guy he once was. But moving out and getting married, gave him a spine and more confidence. My husband was forced to call the credit card companies and report the fraud. The accounts are shut down, and she is being investigated. It's up to the law if she's going to jail or not. Between what she said, her behavior surrounding the wedding, and the financial abuse, we're now low contact with her, and I don't think mother-in-law can repair the hurt she put her son through. My husband has been visiting with my parents more. I'm thankful my parents are so loving as to welcome him as their son. There are some days where he's their favorite child, to be honest. He needs parents that'll be there for him and give him adult advice without a hidden agenda. He has mother-in-law muted on all communications, so he can see the messages but can't get spammed when she finds out and loses her shit. Now, we sit and wait. Edit, sorry, someone brought a few details to my attention that I should probably clarify/explain. I'm a cardiac nurse. I'm good at math, but finances have never been my strong suit. When it came to the disability payments, I assumed that was a state issue and not a federal, hence why I kept referring to that as a state matter. Obviously, I had no hand in filing that paperwork. I just know it was done. As far as mother-in-law telling us she had to pay for our unemployment check, this one I'm also lost on just as much as you all are. I know this is not something the employer pays, I just know she claims she did have to pay it. I don't know if it's a manipulation tactic or what. I'm just as confused as you all are. We filed all the cards as fraud and locked our credit. I'm not complaining, but I do want to share this story and bring parent-child financial abuse more awareness. I did type this story while sleep-deprived and didn't want to make it too long, so if you need clarification, just ask. Didn't want to make it too long, huh? Ran time's 11 minutes. Comments. Martha, 9815. And you knowingly hitched your wagon to someone operating like this? SMH. User otherwise leg 5806. Once he kept on saying wait until after the wedding, I know it was gonna get worse. User JDogX17 comments. She owns/runs a restaurant? That's a great job for somebody with a history of credit card fraud. There is no solution for your hubby other than going no contact with her. There is nothing in that relationship for him except more abuse. He needs to shut it down. User JM Froggy comments. They also need to apply for new social security cards, freeze their credit, report her for fraud, then fight to have it removed from his name. Judgment, not the asshole. Update! 9 days later. If you hadn't read my last post, in short, my mother-in-law had been financially abusing my husband since he was a child. This included taking credit cards out in his name and receiving disability checks from the government because of a false diagnosis of autism. My husband was not aware of this abuse until he was 18 and looking at his credit and finances, and his mother came clean. I did my best to condense and explain events that spanned it over 8+ years in my last post. But it's hard to remember every little detail said that were months or years ago, especially since I have no background in finance or law. Many in the comments spoke poorly of my husband and I. Let me get one thing clear. I did not share our story to get any advice about the situation or opinions on my relationship. I shared this story to bring awareness to parent-child financial abuse and how emotionally manipulative it is. Keep your opinions on our relationship to yourself. My husband grew up not having real parental figures, and this year, with the wedding and reevaluating our finances, made that very clear. Both of his parents suck, but mother-in-law at least did the minimum to be present during his childhood. This is why it was hard for him to report his mother's fraud. It just doesn't take a psych degree to figure out that someone with that upbringing just wants the love of a parent and was gaslit into thinking that kind of treatment is okay. Sorry for the rant, but people on the internet forget that they are talking to another human when they make the awful comments they do. Alright, update. My husband had started a new job after leaving his mother's bar. This job paid more, gave more hours, and even had benefits. My husband met with my mother after one of his night shifts to help him compare my work's benefits with his. During this meetup, my husband got help reporting the credit card fraud to the credit companies and the credit bureaus. What he thought was 2 credit cards turned out to be 5, with a total of $22,000 of debt from the cards, meaning she was likely still using the cards. He sent one last text to his mom, telling her that she had her chance and that he was reporting the fraud. She sent a storm of responses claiming that my family was trying to brainwash him to turn against her and blamed our financial situation on me. We have no idea where she gets that logic, but I make 4 times what my husband did working for her, and I never took cards out in my husband's name. He showed my mother the responses mother-in-law sent him, and my mom lost her shit. Neither will tell me verbatim what witch-in-law texted. All I know is that my mom changed her opinion from tolerate her in small doses to fuck her, cut that toxic bitch out. Now that the fraud is reported, the card companies have closed the accounts and they will be investigating the matter. In my mother's experience, unless the amount is over 10K, which none of the cards total to, it's unlikely there will be jail time for her in the future. But it will go on her record. She will be on the hook for the debt, and she will be fined. It won't be long until the fraud is traced to her since the cards had her contact information listed. As for the disability payments that the government wants back pay for, we are still in the same waiting period as the last post mentioned for appealing the debt under my husband's name. We are still very confident it will be approved since my husband met all the criteria for the appeal with proof provided. Whether that debt goes under his mom's name or is forgiven, we will have to wait and see. The decision can take months to over a year, so we will be waiting a while. We are now no contact with mother-in-law. Husband rarely cries, but her abusive texts and behavior over the last year forced him to cut her off. He was still at my parents' house when he said goodbye for good and blocked mother-in-law on everything. My parents reminded him that he's part of my family now and that he isn't without parents. They gave him a hug, which his bio parents never did, and they took him out for breakfast to make him feel better. My husband now has the loving parents he deserves, and I'm proud to be from a family that loves and helps others. Parent-child financial abuse and exploitation isn't talked about enough. Kids in these situations don't always feel safe reporting the fraud because they fear losing basic needs, food and shelter, what they think is parental love, or the loss of other familial relationships. Just like any abusive relationship, unless you have been in one, you have no idea how difficult it is to escape it. Say it louder for those in the back! Comments. Short long pants. Good luck, OP. I hope it works out for you and your husband. And you have a great family. Your husband is lucky to have hooked up with just the right person. OP responds, he's told me how lucky he is to be with me since we first started dating, but I'm lucky to be with a man who treats me so well. User hell shellabell comments, I used to work for a water utility company and I've witnessed parental financial abuse firsthand. The worst one was a guy, like your husband, that had no idea his mom had taken out water service in his name. Unfortunately, one of the properties she had an account under his info had a water main break between the street and the house. The water bill was thousands of dollars. The look of total devastation on the guy's face when he was told that he had to either file a police report against his mom or pay the bill is one I'll never forget. Of course, his mom was there being loud and dramatic, saying that he wasn't going to file a police report against her and that she wasn't going to pay. The police report was the only way the water charges would be removed from his info and put into his mom's name and info. The same thing happened several times, but not as bad as that one guy. I just don't understand how a parent could do that to their child. I thought this post was just another really good example of the horrors of how abuse can fuck with you mentally and the strain that it can put on you and the pain that it can cause without really realizing it on the outside looking in. And additionally, of course, how dangerous parental fraud can be towards a child for them using their accounts and essentially just taking full advantage of it. There, of course, is also the disgusting small detail of the fact that while OP's husband was pretty much just given a hand wave and a pass to the local pool while his credit was being abused and manipulated, the stepchild, who I presume she did not have direct access to her social security number, got gymnastics and a bunch of other preferential treatment. It's disgusting. And also, of course, the fact that her son was actively being used for his labor. Just a lot of massive and disgusting red flags. I also, once upon a time, like a couple months ago when one of these posts appeared, had like the mental thought experiment of, would it be wrong to open up a card in your child's name and then purposely build their credit like up into the 850s so that way when they graduate college, it's like, hey, surprise, you have a perfect credit score, go do what you want. Then I had the realization of, you're not teaching your child any kind of credit responsibility. They're gonna walk and get like a massive loan or something like that and bury themselves in debt that they don't know how to handle because they never had the responsibility of building their credit. So that was just something that I thought about. I thought I would share of just like, What if you tried doing good by it? Would this be a good thing? The answer is you might think so, but no, it's not. You're still causing harm even if you think you're doing good in the long run, which is something. That is entirely a hypothetical thought experiment that crossed my mind, and I just thought I would throw it your guys' direction. It is something that I would never do. I really want to cement that it is just a thought experiment. As a final note, OP's mother-in-law can go fuck herself. She is nasty. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Saying is not a pogo stick." The original OP is a friendeth. Posted to r/relationships July 15th, 2016. My friend/work colleague, 23 female, got caught as an Instagram mistress and has lost friends/fired from her job. She wants me to help her. I feel like she deserves it. My friend and I, who I will refer to as Joanne, had been friends since we were at university together. We both settled where we attended university afterwards and both got jobs in the area. We have friends in the area that range from university, work, neighbors, etc. We're not best friends, but we have been fairly close. Joanne actually got me the job. She had already been hired when she noticed another position that suited me was available. So she told me and put in a good word for me. I got the job. I'm very grateful for that, and always will be. Last week, Joanne was fired. I wasn't around at the time, and I heard afterwards. There were many rumors floating around, but the Mistress one was the one most people seemed to be sticking to. Honestly, I didn't believe it, but when she spoke about it, she admitted it. I was pretty shocked. I could understand if she was struggling in life and doing this, but we make a decent salary for our age in our field. I had noticed she's been able to get fancier stuff than me, but I thought that was because I was just better at saving money than her. I asked her why, and she said that the job wasn't paying enough, and she loved the control that she has over the men that send her money whenever she wants, but pointed out she's never done anything in person. Not sure whether to believe her or not, to be honest. Our friends found out about this. Some didn't really care. Some were harsh, and some have just stopped talking to her. Now, I'm not going to do that because even though I don't necessarily agree with her choices, she's still my friend. However, the problem that this has caused is Joanne wants me to help convince our friends that it isn't a big deal and to help her get her job back, conveniently bringing up how she helped me get the job. Now, I'm stuck. The friends who have decided to cut her off, I see it as their choice to make. They saw this as a deal breaker for the friendship, and that's not something I want to interfere in. They're grown adults, and I don't want to go to them and try to convince them who they're friends with. Also, even though she did help me get the job, I also don't want to jeopardize my own career because I think she has fucked up and got greedy for whatever reason I'll never understand. But at the same time, she's made me feel guilty with the job stuff, plus other things about how she's helped me in the past. I'm pretty conflicted, really. Too long didn't read. My friend/work colleague got caught being an Instagram mistress who got guys to be her money slaves while uploading adult content. She wants me to help her mend her relationship with the friends who have cut her off, and to help her get her job since she helped me get mine. I don't really feel bad for her, but I feel like I owe her. Edit: an Instagram mistress is normally a financial dominatrix who uses Instagram to offer her services. Second edit: she was fired because she was uploading explicit photos and videos to the Instagram page. Some of them were apparently while she was at work. Editor's note: OP links to a now 16-year-old post about someone recovering from financial domination. Third edit: I found this to explain why some of our friends have such a problem with it. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna just pop in here as Oz and kind of give a bit of a rundown here because this is a complicated kink. It involves two consenting adults and it's a power dynamic. It's entirely based around, well, the loss of control. Also, the mistress is just a title. It doesn't necessarily imply cheating. Sometimes it involves just simply sending money. Sometimes it involves paying the person to take money from you. Sometimes it involves the power of giving money. It's certainly a complicated interest is what I'll put it at. The link that OP gives, the guy who is into this, specifically built his life to be able to indulge in this. He got good grades, went to a good university, sought out a 6-figure job. just so that way he could indulge in this kink. The issue arises is that sometimes people can become addicted to that feeling, and much like gambling, they will begin to start spending or sending money that they don't have or that they need, and can lead to them, in order to fulfill their fantasies, to be not so well off financially. And some Instagram mistresses will push to a point where it brings people to financial ruin and then walk away. Hell, some will actively seek out married men with families, kids included, and pretty much push them to the point where they destroy themselves financially, just for the sake of control and for the profit they'll make from it. It can get horrible. Not all of them are like this, of course, but it does add to the negative reputation on top of the already negative connotations surrounding sex work. And while my personal circus is quite expansive, this is definitely not an act featured within mine. However, everyone has their own circuses that they enjoy. Good luck demonetizing me for that one, YouTube, you son of a bitch! But more importantly, if something is practiced within safety and it doesn't put your life or your financials at risk, it should be something that you should feel safe to indulge in, as long as it's between two consenting adults. Where the line gets drawn is where it puts someone's life in jeopardy, or puts their financials in jeopardy, or puts their future in jeopardy. That's where it becomes dangerous and starts to enter into the same kind of realm as gambling. Now, before we get into the comments, I do just want to talk about where I personally stand on this. If you're going to participate within the sex work industry, more power to you. You should not be judged for that. It should be 100% up to you to do what you want with your time outside of work. However, OP's friend Joanne in this story was producing content within the workplace. That is 100% grounds for termination. Alright, I think I've got my ducks in a row on this one, so let's continue forward. Relevant comments. When told it sounds like her friend is a sugar baby. She's not a sugar baby. An Instagram mistress is someone who is a financial dominatrix over Instagram. She humiliates guys and controls their finances, from what I understand, and they have to do as she says, or she punishes them. I haven't personally seen the page, but there's numerous X-related photos and videos on it. It has to do with her job because it looks bad for the business that someone connected with it is basically doing, especially since she has to meet potential clients a lot. I don't necessarily agree with the decision to fire her over it, but I can see where the bosses are coming from. Also, there were videos and photos that were clearly took at work, all secondhand information, but she didn't deny it when I brought it up. User Pogue Ethics comments, okay, seems like you have two issues here. One is work and her being fired, the other is about your friends ignoring her. Work-wise, she should absolutely be fired for uploading naked pictures at work. I'm sure it's against several work policies. There's nothing you could do to help the situation for her. You can only help yourself by not saying anything about it at work. As for the friends, it doesn't matter. People have a lot of different preferences. If it were me, I wouldn't care, and I definitely wouldn't let it get in the way of a friendship. However, again, I don't think there's anything you can do to help the situation. Sounds like your friends already decided. Maybe they will come around, but not by you bugging them. OP responds, thank you for actually responding to me and wanting to help give me advice. I've been getting annoyed at how many people are going off on tangents and talking about stuff to either just be nosy or just be judgmental about either side of the story. Your post is what I've been looking for, and it gives me a lot to think about. So once again, sincerely thank you for your help. User 1-0 comments, yeah, she should have lost her job because you just should know that you don't do that shit at work. As for friends, I don't see what the big deal is. The way I feel is, we're all parties consenting adults, then it's not my damn business how you make your money. OP responds, whilst I agree with the consenting adult parts, one of my friends when I said this to her told me, so are two people who are cheating, but the husband/wife isn't, which I can understand. Update, July 16th, 2016, the next day. I would just like to say thank you to the people who actually gave advice and didn't just criticize one of the parties involved or get on my back about it. I'm from England, and this has developed overnight after a night out. First, I would like to just clarify something. In my original post, I said that I feel she deserved what happened to her, and people got on my back about it. I didn't explain it properly, but my thoughts were that she has got a job she has wanted since she was a teenager and called it her dream job. That she could advance up the ladder for years to come since she was lucky enough to get it straight out of university. I think she deserved it because she should have known that if she got caught, she was gone, especially since she had her own face on the page. I don't really think she deserves to lose all her friends, but they have completely different deal breakers to me, so I can understand their stance regarding it. I went out to a bar with some friends. I had spoken to Joanne earlier and she seemed upset, so I felt like I would get to the bottom of why the hostility towards her. The main reasons given by the group were: Joanne had a very good job that she wanted for years, and she has thrown it away for either sexual fantasies, greed, or both. They say this wasn't really a big deal, but it was a factor. That they wouldn't care if she was just a dominatrix, as they have done stuff like that in the past with their boyfriends, not being actual paid dominatrixes. It is the fact that her Instagram page was encouraging people to bankrupt themselves for her and encouraging married men to make her their priority over their wives/kids from what she titled her photos/videos. They wouldn't speak to her if she was cheating with a married guy and could understand if she didn't know that they were married, but actively seeking them out as her primary clients, they thought was disgusting, even if she was just playing a role. Yeah, see, that's a circus that should be condemned. So, yeah, admittedly, I don't know much about what financial domination is, but apparently, they decided, and there's nothing I can do about that. Their minds, their lives. The problem this morning was Joanne phoned me after she saw a tagged photo of me on Facebook from the night out the night before. She asked me if I managed to sort it out with our friends. I told her no, they have decided, and straight up told her I won't be involving myself with her job as it was her mistake that cost her, and I don't want to damage my professional life over it. She went on a rant about how much of a pathetic I am, and how nobody really likes me, they just pity me. I hung up and proceeded to block her on everything without even reacting to her. I was one of the only people who hadn't ditched her, but I'm not going to be treated like crap just because she isn't getting her own way. Too long didn't read, went out with friends, they explained in detail why they didn't want to speak to her. I accepted their reasonings and left it. Joanne phoned me this morning and started berating me, so I've blocked her from everything she could talk to me on now. I have no plans on talking to her again anytime soon. Final comments. Deleted user. Well, it seems like everything ended as best as it could. Joanne messed up and refused to accept the consequences of her actions. Everyone in your group seems to have judged her for legitimate reasons, i.e. encouraging cheating, etc., and not out of prudeness. She seems like an immature person all around. You're best without her contact. OP responds, yeah, I thought it was stupid of her to turn on one of the only people who had stood by her. I didn't really care about what she did, even though I thought it was idiotic. But I'm not getting spoken to like a piece of shit for something she's done. She showed her true colors. User Mr. Eck comments. I'm not sure if this is common for government, US government, my job, or just common sense, but my contract with my government employer actually has a clause that you can be fired for anything that could negatively affect the image or publicity of the employer. Doesn't matter if it's a personal or professional reasons. On the update, honestly, worked out for the best for you. It wouldn't take long for people to start questioning and judging you for her actions if you were still friends. I do respect that you didn't just cut her off, but she needs to realize how massively she fucked up. OP responds, yeah, I went through my contract and that was in there. I thought it was just acceptable use policy, but yep, this was definitely part of it. So, look, final thoughts on this one is, while financial domination, if that's your thing and you're a consenting adult, you do you. God knows I've got my list. So, if this was not some kind of role play, Joanne here was actively preying upon people who would end up destroying more than just themselves, their children, their spouses, their futures. I'd actually be really curious to see if this specific kind of behavior targets the same areas of the brain as gambling, but I definitely know it would fall in the same category as a negative addiction. She's also specifically seeking out to cause harm to parties that haven't consented to be involved, like the spouse or the children. I will always be an advocate for the freedom of sex work, but this is crossing a line that I can't get behind. Hopefully y'all will understand my stance on this one. Got a rambly outro for y'all if y'all are willing to sit and listen to it. Don't forget Gamersupps, use code KEYZ at checkout and all that kind of stuff. I do want to use this outro to kind of talk about something that's kind of been on my mind for a while, and it's a weird position to be in. And it deals with commentary on posts. As an example, I keep finding myself in a position where I'm simultaneously being called a misogynist and a misandrist. Whether I'm being accused of being a fake woman-hating ally, or even a brainwashed snowflake who needs to be deprogrammed. Actual comments I've gotten, by the way. I've certainly seen my fair share of comments that are meant to hurt rather than converse. And I do know that I'm not going to bat 100 every time. I do know that I'm going to have takes that people disagree with. Hell, I might even miss something while being hyper-fixated or focused on another part of the story. It is just the nature of this. After all, I am human. Embarrassingly enough, sometimes I'm actually afraid to check the comments because of just the amount of anxiety I get. Worried about, fuck, what did I say wrong this time, or how did I fuck this up? It can definitely be a lot of weight knowing that you have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of eyes overanalyzing every word you say, and sometimes taking those words out of context, or even taking them to mean something it doesn't, and it can definitely be a lot of stress. I've had commenters dismiss my point of view entirely because they don't believe I actually have that line of logic or reasoning. Funny enough, I've actually had commenters confuse me with other YouTubers and then get mad at me for the takes of other YouTubers, and then attack me for those takes. I love having the comment section open. I love disagreement. I love conversation, but damn, sometimes I wonder if some of you forget that I'm actually a person who reads these comments and actually sees them. And that's not even talking about what gets caught in the spam filter, the stuff that I just leave in there and don't approve because, oh boy, some of you can be really mean. But I also signed up for this, and I recognize that. It's interesting how many people hear what they want to hear, good or bad. I still don't 100% know the best medium or way to have conversations about mistakes in commentary or even just missteps that I have. A pinned comment is usually what I aim for, but sometimes not everyone sees that. And when I did the community comments live stream, that live stream itself only has 4.7k concurrent viewers on it. So even that really didn't seem to get a lot of attention or focus on it, and it just kind of fell to the wayside. There just didn't seem to be a lot of interest with it. So I guess to boil it down, I don't want to neuter my commentary and just give milquetoast recaps of what the story was or try to make everyone happy with it. I don't want to do that. I respect you guys as my audience too much. I liked the nuanced opinions in the comment section. I enjoy that. Especially when they're respectful and they're worth actually conversing with, and they're actually something that brings substance to the video. The ones that are hateful though, those are just kind of, well, an eye roll at this point in time. I still have always found it fascinating that I'm being labeled as both a misogynist and a misandrist. That's always been a fun one for me. But the note that I want to end with, if you've made it this far into my rambling, which I very much appreciate if you did, is, do you guys prefer and enjoy the tangents and takes that I have with the nuance prescribed with it? Would you prefer that I just try to take a surface level approach to make everyone happy, or are you guys okay with me potentially upsetting you in the future? I will promise, though, that I will always be open to hearing a conversation in line with it. I will always be open to changing my mind and to trying to be better. That is a promise. And if you guys are willing to accept that, then I will continue doing things the way that I have. With potentially the added addition, with time goes, the way to actually address some of the issues that some of you may have. Who knows, maybe we'll give community comments another shot. Until then, everyone, use code ADS at checkout, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.